Aloha, everybody. Matt Moda here to give you my favorite NBA player prop picks. Today, we're talking Monday, February 24th. I am back from a long vacation to Hawaii with the Splash Zone, which is now back in your life. Again, we're talking Monday, February 24th. I'm going to have 5 NBA player prop pick bangers for you guys to lock in. Obviously, I've been gone a while. I appreciate everybody's patience while I was vacationing. Yes, I say aloha now because I just came back from Hawaii. But we're going to get into today's NBA betting slate. It's a pretty big slate for you guys. Again, 5 picks that I do really like. I got back on Saturday, and I did send out plays to both my Dub Club and my Twitter, both on Saturday and yesterday. And those actually went really well. We had a winning day both Saturday and Sunday, so it feels good to get back, start giving out some winning plays. We went 4-1 yesterday. We went 2-1 on Saturday. So pretty good weekend overall. It does feel like whenever I have days where I don't put out a video and I send out plays, those seem to do well. So hopefully we can continue that hot streak today as well. On the entire season, we're up a little bit over 27 units on the year. Been a pretty good season overall. And again, that includes a pretty good last 2 days as well. But yeah, appreciate everybody for the patience, everybody who's been rocking with me on this NBA season. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. But we can get right into today's bangers. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, which is how I do things on this YouTube channel. And I will say, just to preface this, my sleep schedule has been just completely out of whack since I've come back from Hawaii. So if I start spouting nonsense, it's not my fault. It's because I'm just incredibly sleep deprived. But hopefully, even with this sleep deprivation, we can still give out some good plays for today. So I use Props Madness, as I'm sure everybody knows at this point, Props Madness for all of my NBA betting. I put a link to Props Madness in the description of the video as well as the pinned comment. So if you're interested in checking them out, use that link. And if you sign up, it would help me out a ton if you use my promo code last name M-O-D-I, my last name Modi, for 25% off, and it helps support the channel. But let's start talking banger. So I do have a play in this Nuggets versus Pacers game, and I went with Myles Turner and actually went with him on the assists. So I went over 1.5 assists, minus 130 odds at Bet365. This is the exact bet that I locked in. Again, over 1.5 assists, minus 130 odds at Bet365. You can also get minus 130 at ESPN Bet as well, and minus 135 at Flip. I would take it up to minus 135. I would still take it. If you use any of these 3 books, I would take it at these numbers. Now, normally, I never play anything at minus 130 odds because it's just a gross price. But this matchup really is just too good to pass up, which is why we are locking it in. This is all about the matchup Myles Turner has against the Denver Nuggets. Now, you can see Props Madness will group players. Normally, you can do it by their like playmaking style, but for right now, we're just looking at the center position, which is kind of one and the same for most centers. And what we see here is that 14 of 15 centers have hit their assist prop over against the Nuggets. That's a 93% hit rate, and they go over by an average of over 1 assist above what their over-under is priced at. And a lot of these guys have low numbers, 2.5, 3.5, 2.5, 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, whatever it may be. And they still go over by an average of, again, 1 assist over what their over-under is priced at, which is just insane. The only player that missed was Wemby, who sucks that he's out for the season, who had 3.5, who hit his over in one game, and then they literally played on back-to-back days. Then he missed it the next time. But he cashed the first time, so it's just a weird situation. But basically every single center that plays the Nuggets, they hit their assist prop over. And you just look at this graph here, which shows you like where this defense is weak at allowing assists. And we see that they're below average literally every single spot on the court. On the corners, 19th. In the restricted area, 24th. The paint, 28th. And the above the break three-pointer, 24th. And then we can match that up with where Myles Turner assist comes from. And he doesn't get any assists from the corner, which is kind of perfect because that's where the Denver Nuggets defense is quote-unquote weakest. But under the rim, terrible. Outside of the rim, terrible. Above the break, terrible. And you look at the matchup here, you can hover over the matchup and you see that the Nuggets allow literally the most assists in the NBA, 30 out of 30 in terms of assists allowed in the NBA. And it's all about their aggressive style of defense. They're not a great on-ball defense. They don't have a lot of plus on-ball defenders. So they're really aggressive trying to get the ball out of the play of the whoever has the ball's hands. They're really aggressive trying to get the ball out of that player's hands, whoever has the ball. So it leads to a lot of turnovers that the defense causes. It also leads to them giving up a lot of assists. And one player who is remarkably not a one-on-one good defender, is their center, Nikola Jokic. And that's why centers annihilate their assist prop against the Nuggets. So Myles Turner, he doesn't hit the two number. About half of his games, he hits the two number, as you can see. There's a stretch where he really missed it at the beginning of the year, but his last 25 has been much better. He doesn't hit three very often. I thought about laddering it to get the better price, but if you go from 1.5 to 3, it goes from 24 times to only 7, so you're kind of paying for it. Now, he has been better recently, which is a good sign. He's hit this in a much more recent and much more recently in terms of a stretch of games, but this is really just a matchup play against the Nuggets. Center assist props against the Nuggets are absolutely a smash play, so that's where I went. That is my first play in this Bulls versus Nuggets game. Bulls versus Sixers. I actually have two plays in this one on each team. The first one, I went with Quentin Grimes, and I actually took him on the rebounds plus assists. I got it. It was plus 110 at DraftKings. It's now down to plus 105. So I would take this at plus 104 at FanDuel. That is, obviously, I would take it at the best price, but I got it at plus 110. I should phrase it as I would still take it at plus 104 at FanDuel. So you can still get plus money for it, which is very good. So you're looking at the graph and you're like, why the heck do you like Quentin Grimes in this number? He averages 6.5 on the year, 7.8 over his last 24 games. Well, incredibly different situation for Quentin Grimes. He now plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. He's played 6 games with the Sixers. Now, he missed it in his first one. Only had 2 assists, only had 2 rebounds. Clearly an outlier in terms of the rest of his games with the Sixers. Now, he only played 28 minutes in that game. In every other game, we see 31, 36, 36, 33, 37. So he's played 30 minutes in every single game except for the first one. So I think we can comfortably take that out. In his last 5 games with the Sixers, he's gone over 10.5 rebounds plus assists in 4 of the 5. And look at the one game that he missed. It was against the Celtics where he had 10, so we would have just hooked us. But more importantly, he had 3 assists on 9 assist chances, 9 potential assists. That's a terrible conversion rate. That's just not something that you would expect to see game over game. So it's a really, really good just general hit rate for Quentin Grimes. Now, he's only played 1 game in this stretch without Joel Embiid. That was this game right here against the Nets. 9 rebounds in that game on 12 rebound chances. So maybe that's a little bit of an outlier as well, but maybe he gets closer to 7 rebounds and 4 assists. Either way, that's still over 10.5. And Maxey did also miss that game as well, but that's the only game that he's played without Embiid. Now, Maxey is currently questionable for tonight, so if Maxey ends up missing, that's just going to help the general playmaking duties for Quentin Grimes. So if Maxey misses, that honestly makes his play even better. If Maxey plays, he's still been good specifically with Maxey as a member of the Sixers. It's only 1 game he's played without Maxey as well, so he's hit this in 3 of the 4 games, as you can see. And in terms of the matchup, the matchup is phenomenal. We hover over the assists. Now, Quentin Grimes is the same thing as Myles Turner. We can't look at it by his actual playmaking style because the style is now different playing for the Sixers as opposed to the Mavericks. But as we can see, 11 of 15 guards, just in general, have hit their assist prop over against the Bulls. Now, take this with a grain of salt because this just looks at every single shooting guard. So guys with different playmaking styles are added to this list. But the Bulls are generally an assist team. They allow the second most assists overall. When you look at where they allow assists, literally the most assists under the rim, which is where 45% of Quentin Grimes' assists come from, are under the rim. So it's a good matchup for his assist prop. And then for his rebounds, number 1, he's been awesome as a rebounder, as a member of the Sixers. His over-under is 5.5. He's hit that in every single game. Literally every single game. He's actually hit 7 rebounds in every single game, and his over-under is 5.5. So if you just wanted to isolate the rebounds, you could do that because obviously he's been phenomenal. It's not as good of a matchup for rebounding for Quentin Grimes. As you can see, guards, it's only 8 of 15 as opposed to 11 of 15, which is still good, but not quite as good. But the Bulls, they allow the second most rebounds in general. They play at the 3rd fastest pace, which is the most important thing here. It's always a track meet when you play against the Chicago Bulls. And with Embiid being out of the lineup, it's going to be a track meet for the Sixers as well. They play a lot faster, especially with Maxey and without Embiid. They play a lot faster. So I really, really like this play for Quentin Grimes. Again, we're taking the RA as opposed to just the rebounds. But if you wanted to isolate the rebounds, I wouldn't blame you. It's kind of like the assist is the better matchup play. The rebounds is where he as a player has been better. So that's kind of why I combined the two. And then our next play in this game, our 3rd play overall, I went with Josh Giddey, and I went with him on the assist. Now, these numbers have gotten nuked since I locked them in. I was able to get 6.5 at -115. That's now best offered at -135. So if you wanted to play what I got, you could play this 6.5 at -135. It's a pretty good matchup, which we'll get into for Josh Giddey. If you don't want to suffer -135 odds, which I could never blame anybody for not wanting to do that, I would put 3/4 of a unit on 8+. I would just line shop that to see where you can get the best price. Right now, FanDuel is giving it to you at +124, but I'm willing to you can get a better price on one of these books, like from DraftKings, BetRivers, 365, and ESPN Bet. I'm guessing one of those 4 books is going to give you a better price than +124. So I'll kind of leave that up to you. You could play the exact line that I got, 6.5, just at a worse price, or you could play 8+. You're getting better odds, just it's a little bit higher risk. Regardless, the 2 reasons why we are on this play. Number 1, no Ayo Dosunmu. He is out for the Bulls, and we see Josh Giddey's playmaking has been very, very good without Ayo Dosunmu. He's hit this over 6.5 in 7 of his last 11 games, but that includes 7 straight games. He's gone over 6.5 assists without Ayo Dosunmu, so that's really good. His most recent game just came 2 days ago, played the Suns. He had 10 assists in that game on 16 potential assists. Even, he's probably not going to get 10 assists in this game, but if you're telling me he's going to get 16 potential assists, I'll gladly take for him to get at least 7 or even 8 actual assists in those matchups. You look at his potential assists, it goes from 10.5 on the season up to about 11.5 without Ayo Dosunmu. That doesn't sound amazing, but some pretty gross games in here, like only 7 against the Pacers, only 6 against the Wizards. I actually really liked Giddey in this game against the Wizards, so I remember just exactly how brutal that was. But we see the upswing has been recently, 9, 12, 13, 18, and 16. So we can probably cap it maybe around like 12 potential assists is probably what we're looking at here on average. And then look at the matchup against the Sixers. Literally 7 of 7 players. 7 of 7. That's a 100% hit rate. With Giddey's playmaking style, you see we're looking at by Props Madness. So this is where Props Madness groups players with a similar playmaking style have hit their over against the Sixers. How Props Madness groups these players, it's like a shot zone, but for assists. It's an assist chart. 35% of the assists that Josh Giddey gets are in the restricted area. Another 30% are via the above the break 3-pointer. Look how bad the Sixers are in both of these categories. Fourth worst in the RA, restricted area. Second worst via the above the break 3-pointer. It's an excellent matchup for Josh Giddey. And look how good he's been against the Sixers this year. Granted, Dosunmu played both in those games. That just makes it even better. But 11 assists on 17 potentials the first time. 7 assists on 14 potentials the second time. 14 and 17 potential assists in 2 games against the Sixers with Ayo Dosunmu in both of those games. It's a great matchup for Josh Giddey and his assist prop, which is exactly why we hit it. So this is our 3rd play of the night. Next up, I do have a play in this Hawks versus Heat game. It's another assist prop. I just fell in love with the assist props, and I went with Trae Young. I actually took him 12+ assists. So the main line here, basically across the board, is 10.5. Now, admittedly, these odds have actually gone down. When I looked at it, the best price on over 10.5 was -115. So instead of taking that, I actually took him to go to 12+ at +140 because I just really liked the 12+ for Trae Young. If I'm betting this right now, I actually would rather take the over 10.5 at -105. I would rather get the safer play because -105 odds isn't really anything that bad. I play -105 stuff and worse all the time. I play Josh Giddey -115 and Myles Turner -130. So my official bet, and what you will see on the screen at the end of the video, is Trae Young 12+ assists at +140. But if I'm betting this right now, if you haven't locked that in yet, like if you're not in the Dub Club and you're just watching this video, I actually think the over 10.5 at -105 is a better value play, just to be completely honest with you guys. Regardless, the reason why we are on this play is all about the matchup. Trae Young is going up against the Miami Heat. The Heat are a team we've looked at for assist props all year. We just hit one yesterday. For those of you, again, that are in my Dub Club, we hit Damian Lillard against the Heat, his assist prop. And if you look, players similar to Trae Young, according to Props Madness, 7 of 9 have hit their assist prop over against the Miami Heat. And that includes, what's this, like 6 straight that have gone over. Harden had 11, Halliburton 15, Van Vliet just hooked the over, still counts. Trae Young 15, Cunningham had 18, which is crazy. And then Halliburton and Cunningham kind of flip-flop between missing and hitting in 4 games at the beginning of the year. But the Heat have always been a team you want to target point guard and number 1 option assist props against. That wasn't quite the case at the beginning of the year, but has now kind of held true as the Heat go back to their colors. Trae Young, last time he played the Heat, back in December, 15 assists on 21 potential assists. That's really good. You look at Trae Young, like on the season, his assists have been a little bit down recently. Like he's only hit the over 10.5 in 10 of his last 24 games. There's nothing really that concerning with his outlier metrics. Like we see he averages 20.5 potential assists per game in his last, 24 games. You see that number's at 19.8. That's actually misleading because he played yesterday, literally yesterday on a back-to-back. He had 13 actual assists, which is really good, obviously. But the potential assist number hasn't been calculated by NBA.com yet. So that's being tracked as 0 potential assists. We take that number out. We literally just put this at 1 to take that number out. And his potential assist actually goes up to over his average in his last 24 games. So his potential assists have been good. The actual assists have just been a little bit down. But I'm good with that. There's a couple reasons why I'm good with it. Again, I mentioned how good the matchup is. And let's just kind of talk through that matchup a little bit. So the Heat allow they're 21st in terms of assists allowed, and they're 22nd in terms of assists allowed to point guards. That's where, if you look at the bottom here, I know I'm pointing on my screen that you can't see, but we see assists allowed, D rank versus DAZ, D rank versus position. So the D rank versus position, point guard assists against the Heat. If we look at teams where, we look at games when Trae Young plays teams in the bottom 10 in terms of assists allowed, he's gone over 10.5 in 13 of 17 games, over 10.5. And look at the games, every game he has gone over. Every single time he hit 12 assists. That's why I went with the 12 number, because when he's playing teams that cannot stop assists, he smokes the over. He averages almost 14 per game without, 14 assists per game in games against teams that are bottom 10 in terms of assists allowed. And the Heat are 10th in terms of assists allowed, and they're 9th in terms of assists allowed specifically against the point guard. So really good matchup for Trae Young. He's annihilated this Heat team before. He's been really good in assist matchups in general that are plus assist matchups. So I see no reason why not to go with it. So I did. Trae Young, 12 plus assists is the official play. And then the last bet that I locked in, I don't have anything in these 2 games. For the Jazz game, I really, really like Isaiah Collier assists. As you can see, we don't have odds for Isaiah Collier yet, so I don't have a play in that one. But I do have a play in this Hornets-Kings game. And this is one where the odds moved a lot in my favor. So if you're watching this late, you unfortunately are not getting as good of a price as I got. But I locked in LaMelo Ball, 25 plus points. This one I actually got at plus 100. Right now it's minus 120, so you're not getting quite as good of a price. But I would still play it. Honestly, it's just such a good number on LaMelo Ball. I get why. Like, you look at his recent games and you say, like, he's only hit 25 points in 4 of his last 10 games. And really, he's only done that in 2 of his last 8. You can explain a lot of those away. So 2 games, he got injured, played 9 minutes. Got injured, played 10 minutes. You can't help it if a guy gets hurt. Sometimes that, unfortunately, just happens. But in his games back from injury, 36 minutes, 33 minutes. So when he plays, he's healthy. He's going to play 30 plus minutes tonight. This game he missed, so he only played 22 minutes. He shot 1 of 10 from the field. Really, really, really bad game. Look at the final score of that game. They lost by 53 points. 53. So yeah, he only played 22 minutes. But if you take those games out, you just look at games where he plays his normal allotment of minutes, which, like, I'm only putting this at 25. He's going to play 30 plus minutes. But when he plays at least 25 minutes, he averages 30 points per game almost. He hits 25 points in 75% of his games. So you're basically saying, as long as LaMelo Ball doesn't get hurt in the first quarter and play 10 or fewer minutes, or as long as the Hornets don't get blown out by 50 plus points, he's going to play his normal allotment of minutes, and he just chucks up shots when he plays. I mean, his usage rate, 35%, is insane. Just a ridiculous usage rate. And the matchup is not amazing, but it's not terrible either. I mean, you look at from a play type perspective, they're average in terms of pick and roll ball handler. They're obviously don't give up anything in transition, but they give up a lot of free throws and a lot of spot up, which is 3 and 4 in terms of LaMelo Ball's play type. Similar players, there's only 3, and 2 of them are the same player. It's Josh Green twice hit his over against the Kings, and Halliburton missed. So it's tough to really get a gauge of the matchup from that perspective. What I do know is that the Kings are really bad at guarding the three-point line. That's where 50% of LaMelo Ball's shots come from. Literally, they give up the second most above the break three-pointers. That's like half of LaMelo Ball's points. And then they're also really bad. So they're good at guarding the restricted area, but they're bad at guarding the non-restricted area of the paint, which means that they just pack the paint. They don't have a good rim protector, so they pack the restricted area to not let up any buckets there. But that, I call it like the push shot zone, the floater zone for point guards. They're weak. So it's a good matchup from a shot zone perspective. It's average matchup from a play type perspective. But this is really just a volume thing. Like, again, when LaMelo Ball plays minutes, he scores, which I know that sounds obvious, but that's not the case with everybody. And you really can't take any meaningful information out of games where he's playing 9 minutes with an injury, 10 minutes with an injury, or 22 minutes in a 53-point blowout. Like, yeah, they might lose by 20, but 53 is crazy. Like, that's just not normal. So I really like this play on LaMelo Ball. Again, 25 plus points. I would still take it at minus 120. I don't hate this as a 30 plus point ladder as well, but I just went with a 25 plus point number. But that's all we got. So it's 5 official bangers for you guys to lock in. Real quick, I'll do a recap. It's Myles Turner over 1.5 assists. It's Josh Giddey over 6.5 assists, or 8 plus, depending on what you would prefer. It's LaMelo Ball 25 plus points. It's Quentin Grimes over 10.5 rebounds plus assists, and it's Trae Young 12 plus assists, rounding out our picks for today. Again, I appreciate everybody's patience as I was gone for almost 2 weeks in Hawaii. It was nice to get away after football season, especially with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. That was amazing. Nice to celebrate that. But remember to check out the links in the description of the video. I put a link to Props Madness, which I talked about, a link to my Dub Club where I send all my bets out. It's only $5 a month for those of you that are interested in checking that out. Appreciate it. Mahalo, everybody, for watching, and have a good one.